Most of us live our days feeling rushed, scattered, and behind, always reacting to what's urgent, but rarely feeling in control. We tell ourselves we're just busy, but deep down we know something is missing: real order, focus, and peace. This book is an invitation to stop spinning your wheels and start building a life that feels steady and purposeful, no matter what's happening around you. The secret is not working harder or stuffing more into your day. The secret is learning to organize your life from the inside out, using timeless ideas from the ancient Stoic philosophers. The Stoics believed true calm and strength come from knowing who you are and what matters most. When you have this kind of inner clarity, it's much easier to make good choices, protect your time, and stop getting pulled in every direction. In the chapters ahead, you'll learn practical ways to clear mental clutter, manage your schedule, set simple routines, and create spaces, both physical and digital, that help you focus. You'll also learn how to set healthy boundaries, say no when you need to, and stop letting other people's plans control your day. Most of all, you'll see that being organized is not a talent you're born with or without. It's a set of skills anyone can learn, starting right now. This book is meant to be used, not just read. The ideas here will only work if you put them into practice. You don't need to change everything overnight, but you do need to start. Each small step you take will add up, helping you build a life that feels clear, calm, and truly your own. It's time to take back control, one simple choice at a time. Let's get started. Chapter 1: The Turning Point. Everything you tell yourself about why you are overwhelmed is likely a lie. You tell yourself that you are drowning in work because you are important, because you are in demand, or because the modern world is simply too fast to manage. You wear your exhaustion like a badge of honor, convinced that your frantic pace is evidence of your dedication. But let's be brutally honest right now. The reason you feel constantly behind isn't because you are too essential to rest. It is because you are disorganized. Your life is reactive, your days are owned by other people's agendas, and your attention is leaking out of 1,000 tiny holes that you refuse to patch. This is not a judgment on your character. It is an assessment of your systems. You are trying to build a skyscraper on a foundation of sand, and you are wondering why the walls keep cracking. Most people live their entire lives in this state of low-grade panic, bouncing from one emergency to the next, mistaking motion for progress. They believe that if they just run faster, they will eventually catch up. But you cannot outrun a broken system. You are reading this because you suspect there is a different way to operate. You are right. But to get there, you must abandon the comforting delusion that your chaos is inevitable. It is not. It is a choice you have been making every single morning. This chapter is your wake-up call. It is the moment you stop acting like a passenger in your own life and decide to take the wheel. We are going to strip away the excuses and look at the mechanics of your existence through the lens of a Stoic philosopher. We are not here to talk about abstract theory. We are here to organize your life so that it actually works. The busyness trap. The greatest trick the disorganized mind plays is confusing busy with effective. You know exactly what a typical reactive day looks like because you have lived it 1,000 times. You wake up and immediately reach for your phone, flooding your brain with other people's requests and the world's tragedies before your feet even hit the floor. You arrive at work and open your email, surrendering your priorities to the inbox. You spend 8, 10, or 12 hours chasing notifications, putting out fires, and answering questions that could have waited. By the time you collapse at the end of the day, you are exhausted. You feel like you have run a marathon, but when you look back at what you actually built, created, or solved, the ledger is empty. This is the pinball effect. You are the ball, frantically bouncing off bumpers, emails, texts, meetings, interruptions, racking up points for noise but going nowhere. This approach to life destroys your self-respect. Deep down, you know you are not a player. You are being played. You are living on other people's agendas. Every time a notification dings and you shift your attention, you are implicitly saying that the immediate demand of a stranger is more important than the long-term plan you made for yourself. The Stoics understood this danger thousands of years ago. They distinguished between what is in our control and what is not. When you live reactively, you are trying to control the uncontrollable, the flood of external events, while abdicating the one thing you actually can control, your own attention. The cost of this is invisible but devastating. It manifests as mental fatigue, a brain that feels like browser with 100 tabs open. It manifests as opportunity cost, the books you never wrote, the skills you never learned, the relationships that withered because you were always too busy to be present. It is a quiet, corrosive anxiety that whispers you are always forgetting something, always behind, always failing. The slow death of potential. If you do not arrest this slide, the consequences will compound. Disorganization is not a static problem, it is a degenerative condition. If you continue to let your days be dictated by chaos, you are signing up for the slow decline of your potential. We all know people who were brilliant in their 20s, full of raw talent and ambition, who wake up in their 40s wondering what happened. They didn't lose their talent, they lost the battle against entropy. They let the noise of daily life drown out the signal of their purpose. Talent without structure plateaus early. You can hustle your way through the early stages of a career, using adrenaline and late nights to compensate for a lack of system. But eventually, life gets heavier. Responsibilities increase. If your operating system doesn't upgrade, you will collapse under the weight. This is where the regret sets in. You look back and see a blur of busyness, a decade of grinding, but very little meaningful progress to show for it. You see projects that were started with enthusiasm and abandoned in silence. You see a career that drifted rather than climbed. This drift bleeds into everything. Your health suffers because you don't have time to take care of yourself, which is really just code for I don't prioritize myself. Your relationships suffer because you are physically present but mentally absent, your mind still churning over the unanswered emails or the unfinished tasks. You become unreliable. You become the person who is always 5 minutes late, always apologizing, always stressed. Over time, people stop trusting you with the big opportunities because they can see you are barely holding it together. Worse, you stop trusting yourself. You begin to internalize the chaos, telling yourself, this is just who I am. That is the death knell of growth. The moment you accept learned helplessness is the moment you lose. The architecture of control. But there is another trajectory available to you. It is the path of the Stoic architect. This book is designed to move you from a state of reactive chaos to a state of deliberate command. By the time you finish this process, you will not just have a cleaner calendar, you will have a different relationship with existence. You will have a clear personal framework that acts as a filter for every decision you make. You will know exactly what you stand for, and more importantly, you will have the discipline to say no to everything that does not align with that standard. Imagine a life where you wake up knowing exactly what needs to be done and having the protected time to do it. Imagine finishing your workday with a sense of completion rather than guilt. Imagine having a reputation for absolute reliability where your word is iron because your system ensures you never overpromise or underdeliver. This is not a fantasy. It is the natural result of applying structure to your potential. We are going to build this structure systematically. We will not start with productivity hacks or app recommendations. Those are surface-level fixes for deep-level problems. We will start with the inner citadel. You cannot organize your time until you organize your identity. You need to define the core virtues and roles that govern your life, creating a personal code that serves as your operating system. Without this, you are just rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic. Once the foundation is set, we will move to time architecture. You will learn to treat time as a design material, blocking your weeks and days to reflect your values rather than your inbox. We will establish a daily rhythm, creating anchors in your morning and evening that ensure consistency regardless of how crazy the world gets. We will tackle mental clarity, teaching you to separate facts from stories and clear the cognitive clutter that paralyzes decision-making. We will draw focus lines, building the boundaries that protect your attention as if it were sacred property. because it is. We will organize your outer order, aligning your physical and digital environments to support your mission. Finally, we will look at the long game, ensuring that these systems can adapt and endure for decades. The logic of the system. You might be wondering why we follow this specific order. Why not just start with cleaning up the desk or blocking the calendar? Because winners understand that logistics follow identity. If you organize your schedule before you clarify your values, you will simply become more efficient at doing things that don't matter. You will speed up your race to the wrong finish line. A Stoic does not ask, "How can I do more?" A Stoic asks, "Who do I want to be?" and then builds a life that makes that character inevitable. We address time before we address environment because structure creates the container for improvement. You need to reclaim the hours to think before you can optimize the space in which you work. This progression mirrors the classical Stoic training. You master your inner world, then you regulate your daily conduct, then you order your surroundings, and finally, you commit to the lifelong practice. It is a hierarchy of control. You start at the center and work your way out. This approach requires a fundamental shift in mindset. You must adopt the attitude of radical ownership. The loser mindset looks at a disorganized life and blames the circumstances. They say, "I'm just too busy," or "My boss demands instant responses," or "I have kids, I can't be organized." They wear their chaos as a badge of victimhood, secretly enjoying the drama of the permanent emergency. The winner mindset rejects these excuses entirely. The winner says, "My time is my responsibility. My calendar is my character." They understand that disorganization is not a personality trait. It is a skill gap. It is a problem to be solved, not a burden to be endured. The line in the sand. You are standing at a crossroads. One path leads back to the life you have been living. The reactive mornings, the exhausted evenings, the nagging sense that you are wasting your potential. That path is easy. You don't have to do anything to stay on it. You just have to let the current of the world sweep you away. The other path is harder. It requires you to stop, to think, and to build. It requires you to face the discomfort of saying no and the friction of establishing new habits. But the reward for that difficulty is freedom. Real freedom is not the absence of structure. It is the presence of a structure that you designed. It is the ability to act according to your own reason rather than your impulses. It is the power to look at a chaotic world and remain steady, knowing that your inner citadel is secure. This book is your blueprint. It is a complete system for turning a chaotic, reactive life into a calm, deliberate, Stoic, structured one. We are going to dismantle the habits that are holding you back and replace them with a framework that pushes you forward. But let's be clear, reading this is not enough. Intellectual agreement is cheap. Change requires action. You have to decide right now that you are done with the old way. You have to decide that you are ready to organize your life like it actually matters. The turning point is not in the future. It is not when you finish this book. It is now. It is in the realization that no one is coming to save you from your own schedule. You are the architect. You are the builder. And the construction begins with the most critical piece of the puzzle. Before you can manage your minutes, you must master something far more fundamental. You must define the ruler of your realm. If you don't know who is in charge of your mind, you will never be in charge of your day. We are about to enter the fortress. Before we continue, make sure to subscribe to Grow to the Top and activate notifications to receive more self-improvement tips that will supercharge your growth. And make sure to give this video a thumbs up and share it with your friends. It really helps the channel grow. Thank you for your support. Chapter 2, Inner Citadel. Why did you say yes to that project you knew you didn't have time for? Why did you agree to that dinner when you were exhausted? Why do you constantly feel like a leaf blowing in the wind, turning left or right depending on who is shouting the loudest? The answer is uncomfortable, but we need to face it immediately. You are being pushed around because there is nothing solid inside you to push back. You lack mass. You lack a core. You are trying to organize a life that has no center. You might think your problem is a lack of time management skills or a weak will. It isn't. Your problem is that you are attempting to build a skyscraper without a foundation. You are trying to make decisions about your schedule before you have made decisions about your soul. This chapter is where we stop the drift. We are going to build what the Stoics called the inner citadel, a fortress of character that stands firm regardless of what the world throws at it. This is not about becoming rigid or cold. It's about becoming consistent. It's about moving from a life organized by pressure to a life organized by principle. The root of all chaos. If you do not know who you are, you cannot possibly know what to do. This is the fundamental law of organization that most people ignore. When your identity is fuzzy, your priorities will be scattered. Every email feels urgent because you have no standard against which to judge importance. Every request feels like an obligation because you haven't defined your duties. You become a mirror, simply reflecting whatever is in front of you rather than a light source that illuminates its own path. Winners organize their lives around who they want to be. Losers organize their lives around who is screaming at them. That is the stark difference. The world is volatile. Markets crash, bosses change, friends leave, and plans get wrecked by unforeseen events. If your sense of stability comes from your external circumstances, from your job title, your bank balance, or people's approval, you are building on a fault line. When the earthquake comes, and it always does, you will collapse. But if you build an inner citadel, you have a sanctuary that cannot be breached. This concept is central to Stoic resilience. Events can disrupt your schedule. They can steal your money. They can even damage your body. But they cannot touch your principles unless you surrender them. This internal fortress allows you to return to a baseline of calm even when the office is on fire. It resolves the exhausting civil war inside your head, the friction of wanting to be healthy but eating garbage, or wanting to be a writer but never writing. That friction exists because you haven't codified your values. Once you establish a clear hierarchy of what matters, the hard decisions vanish. You stop agonizing over choices because the choice has already been made by your code. The architecture of character. So, what is this inner citadel made of? It is built from 3 specific materials: your virtues, your roles, and your personal code. First, we must look at virtues. In the modern world, we treat values like items on a buffet. We pick a little of this and a little of that, depending on our mood. The Stoics were different. They believed in 4 cardinal virtues: wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. These weren't abstract philosophical concepts to be debated in a toga. They were practical tools for survival. Wisdom is the ability to see things as they are, not as you fear them to be. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the determination to do what is right despite it. Justice is the commitment to treat others and yourself with fairness and integrity. Temperance is the power of self-control, the ability to say, enough. You need to translate these ancient words into your own language. Maybe for you, courage means having the difficult conversation immediately. Maybe temperance means never trading long-term health for short-term pleasure. Second, we must clarify your roles. You are not just a floating consciousness. You are a person embedded in a web of relationships. You are a professional, a partner, a parent, a friend, a citizen. Most people let these roles bleed into each other until they are doing a mediocre job at all of them. They answer emails during date night and worry about their marriage during meetings. To build your citadel, you must identify your primary roles and link them to concrete duties. As a friend, what is your duty? Is it to be entertaining, or is it to show up and tell the truth? As a professional, is your duty to be busy or to deliver results? When you define the duty, you define the boundary. You realize you cannot say yes to everything and still honor the duties that actually matter. Finally, you must write your personal code. This is your constitution. It is a short, memorable set of rules that you live by. It is not a wish list. It is a command. It brings your virtues and roles together into active first-person statements. This code becomes the filter for everything that enters your life. If an opportunity doesn't fit the code, it doesn't get on the calendar. Lies we tell about who we are. You are likely resisting this. You are thinking that this sounds too abstract, too fluffy. You want to get to the part where we talk about to-do lists. That resistance is exactly why you are stuck. The myth that values are optional is the reason you are productive but unfulfilled. Without values, productivity is just a way to run faster in the wrong direction. Values are not inspirational wall art for a corporate lobby. They are the most practical decision-making algorithms you will ever possess. They save you time by automatically deleting options that don't align with your character. Another lie is the passive belief that identity will reveal itself later. You tell yourself you will figure out who you are eventually, as if your character is a buried treasure waiting to be dug up. This is the loser mindset. Identity is not discovered, it is built. It is constructed brick by brick, choice by choice. If you drift through decades waiting for clarity to strike you like lightning, you will wake up as an old person who stands for nothing. Perhaps you fear that defining your values will make you rigid. You think, I need to be adaptable to survive. You are confusing rigidity with strength. A spine is not rigid, it is structured, which allows the body to move and flex without collapsing into a pile of jelly. Clear principles increase your adaptability because they give you a fixed point of reference. You can change your tactics, your career, or your methods 1,000 times, as long as you stay true to your core. The person with no code is the one who breaks under pressure because they have nothing to hold them together. Drafting your constitution. Now we move from theory to construction. You are going to build your citadel. Start by choosing your core virtues. Do not just pick words that sound nice. Look at the people you admire, living or dead, real or historical. What specific traits make you respect them? Is it their unshakable calm, their ruthless honesty, their generosity? Group these traits together and link them to the core Stoic virtues. Pick 3 to 5 that feel non-negotiable to you. Write them down and then write one sentence for each that defines what it looks like in your actual daily life. Do not use flowery language. Use the language of action. Next, map your primary roles. Write down the main hats you wear: professional, father, learner. For each role, list 3 core duties that would make you proud to look in the mirror. If you are a manager, perhaps your duty is to remove obstacles for my team, not to micromanage every detail. If you are a partner, perhaps your duty is to be present and listening, not just to share a house. Look at this list. If you have 20 roles, you are overloaded. You need to cut. You cannot be excellent at everything, but you can be excellent at what remains. Finally, write your personal code. Draft 5 to 10 short statements starting with I will or I am. Link your virtues to your behavior. I will speak the truth even when it is expensive. I am the master of my impulses, not their slave. I will protect my focus as my most valuable asset. Keep it simple enough to read in 60 seconds. This is not a memoir. It is a battle cry. Commit to reading this code every single morning for the next 30 days. It will feel strange at first, then it will feel necessary, and finally, it will feel like armor. Keeping the code alive. A code that sits in a drawer is useless. You must keep it visible. Put it on your phone's lock screen. Tape it to your bathroom mirror. Keep it on a sticky note on your monitor. You need to see it when you are weak, when you are tired, and when you are tempted to take the easy way out. Use it as a quick check before big decisions. When you are about to send that angry email, look at your code. Does it align? If not, delete the draft. You can also compress your code into short mantras. These are mental triggers you can pull in the heat of battle. If one of your virtues is courage, your mantra might be courage, not comfort. When you feel the urge to procrastinate or avoid a difficult task, repeat that phrase. Use it to interrupt the pattern of laziness or fear. It cuts through the mental noise like a knife. And remember, this is a living document. You must review and refine it regularly. Set a recurring appointment with yourself once a month to look at your virtues and roles. Do they still fit? Have you grown? Adjust the wording as your understanding deepens. Do not lower the standard to make it easier to reach. Raise the clarity so it is harder to ignore. Keep a simple log of moments where you lived up to your code and moments where you failed. This is not to shame yourself, but to gather data. The view from the fortress. When you do this work, the results are profound. In the beginning, you will simply be able to name your top virtues and roles without hesitation. You will have a written code that you read occasionally. You will start to notice, with a pang of guilt, when your actions conflict with your stated values. This is the good outcome. It is the awakening of conscience. As you progress to an excellent outcome, you will actively use your code to accept or reject opportunities. You will look at a lucrative contract and say no because it violates your duty to your family or your virtue of integrity. People around you will sense a shift. They will notice your consistency. You will become predictable in the best possible way, steady, reliable, and grounded. You will feel less torn when faced with hard choices because you are no longer deciding based on the mood of the moment. The best outcome is a life that feels entirely coherent. Your work, your relationships, and your habits all align with your core virtues. Under pressure, you default to principle, not panic. You do not need to look for external validation because you have an internal standard. You have become someone with a strong, calm, ethical center. You have built the inner citadel, and it stands tall against the chaos. Where the walls crumble. There are traps here, and you must avoid them. The most common is picking pretty values that you have no intention of living. You might write down generosity because it sounds noble, but if you are clutching every penny and refusing to give your time to others, it is a lie. If your values do not cost you anything, they are not values. They are opinions. Fix this by choosing fewer values and defining exactly what you are willing to sacrifice for them. Another trap is overcomplicating your code. If your personal constitution reads like a legal policy manual, you have failed. It needs to be punchy. It needs to have rhythm. It needs to be something you can recite to yourself when your heart is racing and your palms are sweating. Aim for clarity over cleverness. If you can't remember it, you can't live it. Finally, the greatest danger is forgetting your values in real life. It is easy to be a stoic when you are sitting in a quiet room reading a book. It is hard to be a stoic when your boss is screaming at you or your plans are falling apart. This is why you must link your values to specific triggers. When you feel the physical sensation of anger, that is your cue to activate your code. When you end your day, do a quick check. Where did I follow my code? Where did I betray it? This constant auditing is what keeps the walls strong. You have now laid the foundation. You know who you are, what you stand for, and what duties you must fulfill. You have the compass. But a compass is useless if you do not know how to navigate the terrain of the day. You have the who and the why, but you are still drowning in the when. The citadel is built, but the gates are still open to the barbarian hordes of distraction. We need to install the defense system. We need to take this high-level philosophy and drag it down into the gritty reality of your calendar. It is time to stop letting time happen to you and start designing it. Chapter 3. Time Architecture. You can lose all your money and earn it back. You can lose your status and rebuild your reputation. You can even lose your health and, with effort and luck, often recover it. But there is one asset you possess that is strictly non-refundable. Once a second ticks by, it is gone into the abyss of history, never to return. It is the only resource you have that is truly finite, yet you probably treat it with the reckless abandon of a drunken gambler. You guard your bank account with passwords and encryption, but you leave your calendar open to anyone who wants to steal a piece of your life. This stops now. We're done treating time like it is bad weather, something that just happens to you while you complain about it. We are going to start treating time like a physical building material. You are going to stop managing time, which implies merely coping with a flow of events, and start architecting it. You are going to design a structure for your existence that forces the trivial out and locks the essential in. If you felt the ground shift under your feet in the last chapter when you defined your inner citadel, get ready. That was the foundation. Now, we are going to raise the steel beams, the currency of existence. Most people live in a state of chronic temporal poverty. They are always running out of time, always spending it on things they don't care about, always owing it to others. This is not an accident, it is a result of poor design. You must understand that time is your ultimate currency. When you say yes to a coffee meeting, you don't want to attend. You are not just being polite. You are literally trading a slice of your life that you could have used to build your legacy, deepen a relationship, or simply rest. You are paying for that meeting with your lifeblood. Every yes is a no to something else. This is the brutal economics of existence. Winners understand this trade-off viscerally. They guard their time like a dragon guards gold, not out of greed, but out of respect for the scarcity of the resource. Losers, on the other hand, hand out their time to anyone who asks, trading their most precious asset for the cheap dopamine of feeling busy or liked. The connection between this reckless spending and your stress levels is direct and undeniable. When your days are overfilled and unstructured, your brain enters a state of permanent low-grade panic. You are constantly context switching, jumping from email to project to text message, never allowing your mind to settle into the deep, rhythmic work it craves. This lack of boundaries blurs everything. Work bleeds into rest. Distraction bleeds into connection, and you end up doing everything poorly. Structure does not restrict your freedom, it creates it. By making the trade-offs explicit, by deciding in advance what you will and will not do, you eliminate the anxiety of constant negotiation. Look at your calendar from last week. Don't just glance at it, study it like a crime scene. That grid of boxes is not just a schedule, it is your autobiography written in real time. It is the truest statement of your values, far more honest than what you wrote in your personal code. If you say you value health, but your calendar shows 0 hours for exercise and sleep, you are lying. If you say you value deep work, but your week is a confetti of 30-minute meetings, you are lying. Repeating weeks become your life story. If you keep living the way you lived last week for the next 10 years, will you be happy with the result? If the answer is no, you need a new architect. Blueprints for a Stoic week. The core tool of time architecture is the ideal week. This is not a rigid prison schedule that accounts for every bathroom break. It is a template. It is a default setting for your life. The goal is to reduce decision fatigue. You shouldn't have to wake up on Tuesday and ask, when should I do my deep work? That decision should have been made once, months ago, when you designed the template. You build this template using time blocks. A time block is a defensible unit of focus. Instead of a to-do list, which is just a menu of things you might do, a time block is a contract with yourself to do a specific thing at a specific time. You need to distinguish between 3 types of materials here: deep work blocks, high concentration, high value output; shallow work blocks, admin, email, logistics; and recovery blocks, true rest, not just scrolling. The mistake most amateurs make is fragmentation. They try to fit deep work into the cracks between meetings. That is like trying to sleep in 5-minute intervals. You never hit REM, and you wake up exhausted. One 4-hour block of deep work is worth infinitely more than 4 one-hour blocks scattered throughout the day. You need to aggregate your attention. This brings us to the concept of temporal minimalism. This is the application of Stoic philosophy to your schedule. The Stoic does not ask, how can I fit more in? The Stoic asks, what can I remove? You are likely doing things right now that have 0 impact on your long-term goals. You are attending recurring meetings that have lost their purpose. You are polishing projects that should have been shipped. Temporal minimalism is the discipline of stripping your week down to the studs. It is about creating spaciousness, not endless hustle. The goal is not to be a machine that runs at maximum capacity until it breaks. The goal is to be a master craftsman who works with deliberation and intent. The lies that keep you frantic. To build this structure, we have to demolish the myths you use to justify your current chaos. The first is the efficiency trap. You think, I just need to be faster. You buy apps, you learn keyboard shortcuts, you try to multitask. But efficiency is irrelevant if you are working on the wrong things. It is far better to move slowly in the right direction than to sprint toward a cliff. Most people do not need to execute faster. They need to execute fewer things. The second myth is the phrase, I don't have time. Let's banish this from your vocabulary. It is a lie. You have the same 24 hours as every other human being who has ever lived. When you say, I don't have time to read, what you are really saying is, reading is not a priority for me. When you say, I don't have time to plan my week, you are saying, chaos is acceptable to me. Be brutally honest. If someone offered you $1 million to find 2 hours tomorrow for deep work, you would find it instantly. The time exists. You are just spending it on things that don't matter. The third myth is that a full calendar equals a productive life. We treat white space on a calendar like a defect, something to be filled immediately. This is vanity. Calendar stuffing is a performance we put on to convince ourselves and others that we are important. But zero white space means zero time to think. It means zero time to handle the unexpected. It means zero time to recover. A calendar without empty space is a structure without shock absorbers. The first bump in the road will shatter it. Laying the bricks. So how do we actually do this? We start by identifying your top priorities for the next 90 days. Do not pick 10. Pick 1 to 3. These must link directly to the virtues and roles you defined in your inner citadel. If your role is writer, your priority is finish the manuscript. These priorities are your razor. If a task doesn't serve them, it fights for its life to get on your calendar. Next, you build your weekly template. You literally sketch out a grid of your week. Before you put in a single meeting or email block, you place the big rocks. When are your deep work blocks? Place them during your highest energy windows. If you are sharpest in the morning, do not give those hours to email. That is like using a Ferrari to deliver pizza. Protect your prime biological time for your prime intellectual output. Then, add your relationship blocks and your recovery blocks. Only then do you sprinkle in the shallow work and admin. Now comes the pain, temporal minimalism. Look at your current schedule. List every recurring activity. Now, apply the cut, shrink, batch framework. Can you cut it entirely? If not, can you shrink it from an hour to 30 minutes? If not, can you batch it with other low-value tasks so it doesn't interrupt your day? You must be ruthless. You are reclaiming territory that has been occupied by the enemy. Finally, you must install memento mori checks. This is the ultimate Stoic tool. Once a week, look at your plan and ask yourself, if I knew I had limited time left, would I spend my Tuesday this way? This question cuts through the bullshit faster than any productivity hack. It forces you to confront the reality of your choices. It empowers you to delete the trivial obligations you accepted out of guilt. Defending the fortress. Once your structure is built, you must defend it. The most critical tactic is protecting the first block. The first hour or two of your day is sacred ground. Do not, under any circumstances, open your email, check your messages, or look at the news during this time. The moment you do, you have surrendered your agenda to the world. You have entered reactive mode. Keep the drawbridge up. Use this time for your most critical task, the one that aligns with your highest value. You should also lean heavily on batching and theming. Context switching is a tax on your intelligence. Every time you switch from a spreadsheet to an email to a phone call, you leave a cognitive residue behind. It takes minutes to regain full focus. Stop paying this tax. Group all your calls on Tuesday afternoon. Do all your admin on Friday morning. Theme your days if you can. Monday for strategy, Wednesday for creation. This reduces the mental load of constantly changing gears. Use your digital tools as Stoic bells. In monasteries, bells ring to remind monks to return to mindfulness. Set alarms on your phone or calendar, not just for meetings, but for mindset shifts. A notification at 11 a.m. that says, "Am I being productive or just active?" can snap you out of a trance. Label your blocks with intent. Don't just write work, write deep work, Chapter 4 draft. Clarity breeds focus. The view from the top. When you successfully implement time architecture, the change is visceral. A good outcome is that you have a template and you actually see your priorities reflected in your day. You stop losing entire days to randomness. You feel a sense of agency returning. An excellent outcome is when you start following the template most of the time. You have cut the low-value noise. You feel less rushed, even though you are achieving more. You stop apologizing for being busy because you are no longer busy. You are engaged. The best outcome is a complete alignment of your time and your spirit. Your calendar becomes a beautiful reflection of your inner citadel. People start to respect your time because they see that you respect it. You experience compounding productivity. Big projects move forward steadily, relentlessly, without the drama of last-minute heroics. You are playing the long game, and you are winning. Where the walls crumble. Of course, things will go wrong. The most common failure mode is overstuffing. You get excited and book every minute of your day with high-intensity work. This is the optimism bias, and it will kill your system. You are human, not a robot. You need buffers. You need overflow blocks. If you don't schedule time for the unexpected will wreck your schedule. Aim to book only 70 to 80% of your time. Leave the rest as shock absorption. You will also face invasions. People will try to steal your time. They will send urgent requests that are not actually urgent. They will try to book meetings during your deep work blocks. You must hold the line. Use firm, kind scripts. I can't do that at 10 a.m., but I can do it at 4 p.m. I'm heads down on a project until Thursday. Let's talk then. If you don't respect your boundaries, no one else will. Finally, do not quit after one bad week. You will have weeks where the structure collapses. You will get sick, a crisis will hit, or you will just be lazy. That is not a reason to abandon the system. It is a reason to restart it. The Stoic does not despair when he falls. He gets up, dusts himself off, and resumes his post. Treat every week as an experiment. Review what broke, fix the leak, and build it stronger for the next round. You have defined your identity. You have built the architectural container for your time. You have the map and the vehicle. But a vehicle sitting in a garage goes nowhere. A structure without a pulse is just a tomb. We need to breathe life into this system. We need to take these blocks of time and turn them into a living, breathing cycle that propels you forward every single day. We need to establish a rhythm that beats so strong it becomes automatic, carrying you through the days when your willpower runs dry. It is time to learn how to loop. Chapter 4. Daily Rhythm. How many days have you lived that you can actually remember? If you are like most people, your past is a blur. It is a gray smear of waking up, rushing, reacting, coping, and collapsing, repeated thousands of times. You wake up disoriented, already behind, and you spend the next 16 hours playing catch-up. You end the day wondering where the time went, promising yourself that tomorrow will be different. But tomorrow is exactly the same. This is not just a productivity problem, it is an existential tragedy. You are living your life by accident. You are letting the sun rise and set on a chaotic mess of impulses and interruptions. You are hoping for a good day, like a gambler hopes for a lucky roll of the dice. But hope is not a strategy, and luck is not a system. We are going to stop this cycle right now. We are going to turn your days from chaotic streaks into deliberate loops. We are going to take the architectural blocks you built in the last chapter and cement them together with a rhythm that beats so strong it becomes automatic. You are going to learn how to anchor your existence with a powerful beginning, a structured middle, and a reflective end. The day is the brick. You must understand that the day is the fundamental unit of your life. We like to talk about 10-year plans and life goals, but those are abstractions. You do not live in a 10-year plan. You live in Tuesday. You live in Thursday. If you cannot master the 24-hour cycle, you cannot master your life. A wall is nothing more than a collection of bricks. If every brick is cracked and misshapen, the wall will fall. If every day is scattered and reactive, your life will be a ruin. Winners understand that if they win the day, the years take care of themselves. Losers are always looking past today, waiting for some magical future where they will suddenly have the discipline and clarity they lack right now. They treat today as a throwaway, a waiting room for the real event. But today is the event. When you install a daily rhythm, you move from randomness to repeatable success. A random good day is nice, but it is fragile. It depends on your mood, the weather, and the cooperation of everyone around you. A structured good day is robust. It happens because you built a system that makes it happen. By creating a predictable rhythm, you reduce the friction of living. You stop burning willpower deciding when to work or how to start. You just step into the current you created and let it carry you. This structure provides profound emotional stability. Anxiety thrives in the unknown. When you don't know how your day will start or end, your brain remains on high alert. But when you bookend your day with rituals, a morning prime to open the gate and an evening moral inventory to close it, you create a psychological container. You are safe within the rhythm. Far from being a prison, this structure is the scaffolding for your freedom. It handles the basics so your mind is free to soar. The morning prime. The battle is often won or lost in the first 20 minutes. Most people start their day in a defensive crouch. The alarm goes off, and they immediately scroll through their phone, letting the world's panic, envy, and demands flood their consciousness before they have even had a single original thought. They are reactive before they are even out of bed. You will build a morning prime. This is not a long, luxurious spa treatment. It is a tactical briefing. It is the moment you calibrate your compass before stepping into the wilderness. The Stoic Emperor Marcus Aurelius didn't just wake up and hope for the best. He prepared his mind. He reminded himself of his duties. He rehearsed the difficulties he would face. Your morning prime is a short, sharp sequence designed to align you with the inner citadel you built in Chapter 2. It might take 10 minutes. It might take 20, but it must happen. You sit in silence. You review your personal code. You look at your top 3 priorities for the day, the ones you identified in your time architecture. You mentally rehearse the challenges you expect to face. You visualize yourself handling a difficult conversation with the virtue of courage, or managing a boring task with the virtue of temperance. You set your intention. You decide, today I will be this kind of person. When you do this, you stop being a leaf in the wind. You enter the day as a force of nature. You have already won the internal battle, so the external battles become manageable. The engine room and the audit. Once the day is primed, you move into the core work zone. This is the middle of the loop, the engine room of your productivity. In the previous chapter, we talked about blocking time. Here, we talk about the rhythm of that time. You cannot sprint for 8 hours straight. You need to oscillate. You cluster your highest value tasks into the protected blocks you designed, and you attack them with ferocity. But you also respect the limits of your biology. You work, and then you detach. This brings us to the silence and solitude windows. These are the spaces between the notes that make the music. Throughout your day, you must insert short, quiet breaks. I'm not talking about switching from a spreadsheet to social media. That is not a break. That is just a different kind of noise. I mean, stepping away. 5 minutes of staring out a window. 5 minutes of closing your eyes. These micro resets prevent the accumulation of mental residue. They keep your decision-making sharp. Finally, you must close the loop. A day without a review is a day unlearned. If you do not look back at what happened, you are doomed to repeat your mistakes forever. This is where the evening moral inventory comes in. This was a non-negotiable practice for the Stoics. Seneca would wait until the lights were out and his wife was asleep, and then he would put his entire day on trial. You will do the same. Before you sleep, you will ask 3 simple questions. What went well? Where did I fall short? What will I do differently tomorrow? This is not an exercise in guilt. It is an exercise in data collection. You catch the moment you lost your temper. You acknowledge the moment you procrastinated. You celebrate the moment you held your tongue. By reviewing the tape, you ensure that tomorrow you will be slightly better. This feedback loop is the mechanism of growth. Without it, you are just spinning your wheels. The myth of the spontaneous genius. I can hear the resistance in your mind. You are telling yourself that this sounds robotic. You are whispering, routines kill creativity. This is one of the most destructive myths in existence. Look at history. The greatest artists, writers, and thinkers were not chaotic spirits waiting for the muse to whisper in their ear. They were disciplined laborers. They had strict, boring routines that they followed religiously. Routine does not kill creativity. It protects it. By automating the mundane aspects of your day, when to start, what to review, how to close, you free up your mental energy for the work that actually requires brilliance. If you have to use your creativity to decide how to organize your morning, you have none left for your art. Rhythm is the runway. Creativity is the takeoff. You cannot fly if you are constantly paving the tarmac. You might also claim, I'm just not a routine person. Stop lying to yourself. You are a routine person. Everyone is. You already have a routine. It just happens to be a bad one. Your routine is hitting snooze 3 times, doom scrolling for 20 minutes, rushing to get ready, and arriving stressed. That is a routine. You have practiced it until you are an expert at it. The question is not whether you will have a routine, but whether you will choose one that serves you or one that destroys you. And do not fall for the trap of novelty. You do not need every day to be a unique snowflake. Constant novelty is exhausting. It forces your brain to process new information every second, leaving no capacity for depth. You want predictability in the process so you can have variety in the content. You want the container of the day to be boring so the work inside it can be exciting. Anchoring the habit. How do you actually install this without it falling apart in a week? You use habit anchors. You do not rely on willpower. Willpower is a battery that runs out. Anchors are chains that hold fast. You attach your new rhythm to something you already do. You already brush your teeth. You already put on your shoes. You already shut down your computer. These are your hooks. Attach your morning prime to the moment your feet touch the floor. Attach your evening moral inventory to the moment you plug in your phone for the night. When I do X, I immediately do Y. No debate, no decision, just cause and effect. You must also design minimum versions of your rhythm. There will be days when you are sick, traveling, or in a crisis. On these days, the perfectionist says, I can't do my full 20-minute reflection, so I'll do nothing. The Stoic says, I will do the 2-minute version. You never skip, you compress. You review your values in 30 seconds while standing in an elevator. You ask the 3 evening questions while brushing your teeth. The goal is not duration, it is continuity. You are building an identity of consistency. The moment you skip a day entirely, you break the chain, and the chaos begins to leak back in. Use simple checklists. Do not try to keep your routine in your head. Your brain is for thinking, not for storage. Write down your morning prime steps on a note card. Keep it on your nightstand. In the morning fog, you don't want to think. You want to follow orders. Be your own commanding officer. The momentum of the flywheel. When you first start this, it will feel mechanical. You will feel like you are acting a part. That is normal. Keep going. A good outcome is simply doing it. You start the day with intention, you end with reflection. You feel a slight increase in control. As you persist, you reach an excellent outcome. The rhythm begins to energize you. You notice that your core work zone is becoming more productive because your brain knows it is time to focus. You start to see patterns in your evening reviews, recurring mistakes that you can finally fix. But the best outcome is when the rhythm disappears. It becomes who you are. You run on autopilot. Even when life throws a crisis at you, your rhythm catches you. You don't spiral because your default setting is structure. You feel a deep, powerful momentum. Each day builds on the one before, stacking brick upon brick, until you look up and realize you have built a tower of achievement that towers over your past self. Where the rhythm breaks. Be warned, you will try to overcomplicate this. You will design a morning routine with 50 steps involving meditation, journaling, reading, visualization, and breathing exercises. You will try to be a monk in a single day. This is a trap. If your routine feels like a second job, you will quit. Cut it down. What are the essential 2 or 3 actions that actually move the needle? Do those. If you can't do your routine on a bad day, it is too complex. You will also be tempted to skip when you are tired or stressed. This is the most dangerous moment. The voice in your head will say, I've had a hard day. I deserve to just zone out. That voice is the enemy. Discipline is not what you do when things are easy. It is what you do when things are hard. The routine is not a luxury for good days. It is a lifeline for bad ones. When you are stressed is exactly when you need the inner citadel most. Do the minimum version, but do not break the seal. Finally, you might get bored. You might crave the adrenaline of the chaos you used to live in. You might start tinkering with the routine just to feel something new. Resist this. Boredom is the gatekeeper of mastery. If you can't sit with the boredom of consistency, you will never achieve greatness. Fall in love with the plateau. Trust that the repetition is forging something harder and sharper within you. You have built the fortress. You have designed the time. You have established the rhythm. Your external world is beginning to take shape. But there is a threat we haven't neutralized yet. It is the most insidious threat of all because it doesn't come from your calendar or your environment. It comes from inside the house. You can have the perfect schedule and the perfect routine, but if your mind is a fog of worry, indecision, and emotional overreaction, the system will fail. You are sitting in the captain's chair, but the controls are fighting you. It is time to open the hood of your own psychology and clean up the mess inside. We need to clear the fog. Chapter 5. Mental Clarity. You are trying to run a high-performance machine, but the control room is on fire. You have spent the last few chapters building a fortress. You have defined your values, architected your time, and established a daily rhythm. On paper, you are organized, but there is a problem. You are still living inside your own head, and for most people, that head is not a sanctuary. It is a noisy, crowded marketplace where 1,000 screaming merchants are vying for attention. You sit down to do your deep work, but a worry about an email from 3 days ago taps you on the shoulder. You try to enjoy dinner with your family, but your mind is replaying a clumsy comment you made in a meeting. You try to make a simple decision, but you spiral into a vortex of what-ifs and worst-case scenarios. This is the dirty secret of productivity. You can organize your external world to perfection, but if your internal world is a mess, you will still fail. Disorganized thinking creates disorganized living. It is impossible to act with precision when your mind is a fog of unexamined emotions and half-finished thoughts. Winners understand that mental clarity is not a luxury, it is a prerequisite for survival. Losers rearrange their apps and color-code their folders, thinking that will save them, while their minds remain a hoarder's basement of anxiety and indecision. We are going to clean up that basement. We are going to turn your mind into a disciplined command center. The fog of war. The greatest enemy of execution is not lack of time, it is overthinking. We have romanticized the idea of the tortured genius or the deep thinker who ruminates endlessly. But let's call it what it is, a waste of life. Rumination is the act of chewing on the same thought over and over again without swallowing or spitting it out. It drains your battery. It consumes the glucose in your brain that you need for actual problem solving. When you overthink, you are not planning, you are spinning. This mental noise leads to the freeze response. You delay starting the project because you are obsessing over the font choice. You delay the difficult conversation because you are running simulations of every possible negative outcome. The more you spin, the less you move. This internal chaos also leaves you vulnerable to emotional storms. An unexamined emotion is like a rogue wave. It hits you out of nowhere and capsizes your boat. One flash of anger, one pang of insecurity, or one wave of boredom can hijack your decision-making in a split second. You might undo weeks of disciplined work with one impulsive email sent in a moment of frustration. Stoic clarity is not about becoming a robot who feels nothing. It is about being a commander who feels everything but is controlled by nothing. It is the ability to stand on the bridge of the ship in the middle of a hurricane and calmly give orders. The discipline of assent. The ancient Stoics had a specific term for the mental discipline we need, the discipline of assent. They believed that we do not have to agree with every thought that pops into our heads. This is a radical concept for most modern people. We tend to treat our thoughts as facts. If the thought, "I'm going to fail," appears, we believe it is a prophecy. If the thought, "they hate me," appears, we believe it is the truth. But a thought is just a sentence your brain produced. It is often a lie, a distortion, or a recycled fear. The first step to mental clarity is to create distance. You must learn to see thoughts as objects, not commands. When a worry arises, you do not merge with it. You look at it, you label it, you say, "This is a fear," or "This is a story I am telling myself." This gap between the thought and your agreement is where your freedom lives. In that gap, you have a choice. You can choose to assent to the thought, to say, "Yes, this is true," or you can choose to reject it. This is the ultimate cognitive decluttering. You are the bouncer at the door of your mind. You decide who gets in and who gets thrown out into the alley. The algorithm of wisdom. Once you stop fighting ghosts, you need to deal with the sheer volume of decisions you face. Decision fatigue is real. Your brain has a limited amount of processing power for making choices. If you burn that power deciding what to wear, what to eat, or how to respond to a trivial request, you have nothing left for the decisions that actually matter. The solution is to automate wisdom. You need to create decision rules. These are simple if-then algorithms based on the inner citadel you built in Chapter 2. Instead of agonizing over every new request, you apply a rule. For example, if you value deep work, a rule might be, "I do not accept meetings before 11 a.m. When a request comes in for a 9 a.m. call, you don't have to think. You don't have to weigh the pros and cons. The rule decides for you. The answer is no. Winners have fewer decisions to make because they have already made the important ones in advance. They treat their values as constraints that eliminate options. Losers want freedom to keep their options open, which paradoxically leads to paralysis. By limiting your options on purpose, you free up your mental RAM for execution. Complex, case-by-case reasoning is a disaster under stress. Simple, clear rules are a lifeline. Taking out the trash. Now, let's get practical. Your mind is likely full of open loops. Tasks you haven't done, worries you haven't addressed, questions you haven't answered. These open loops are like browser tabs running in the background, slowing down your processor. You cannot think clearly because you're trying to remember too much. You need to perform a mind dump. This is not a journal entry about your feelings. It is an inventory of your psychic burdens. Take a piece of paper and write down every single thing that is currently on your mind. The deadline you are worried about, the noise the car is making, the vague sense that you need to call your mother. Get it all out. Your brain is for processing ideas, not for storing them. Once it is on paper, you apply the Stoic razor, the dichotomy of control. Go through your list and mark every item. Is it in your control? Is it partly in your control? Or is it out of your control? If it is out of your control, like the economy or what someone thinks of you, you cross it out. You make a conscious decision to have an attitude of indifference toward it. It is not your business. If it is in your control, you decide on the very next physical action you need to take. Not work on project, but email John for the file. By sorting the trash from the treasure, you reduce a mountain of anxiety into a small pile of tasks. The pause rule. The final piece of the clarity puzzle is handling the emotional hijack. We all get triggered. Someone cuts you off in traffic, or insults your work, or ignores you. The chemical wave of anger or shame hits your brain faster than your rational mind can keep up. If you act instantly, you will almost always act stupidly. You need the pause rule. It is deceptively simple. Never react instantly. When you feel the spike of emotion, you force a pause. You take one slow breath. In that breath, you name the emotion. I am feeling angry. Naming it engages your prefrontal cortex and dampens the emotional center of your brain. Then you ask the question, what would my best, most stoic self do right now? This pause breaks the chain reaction. It prevents the temporary emotion from becoming a permanent consequence. It allows you to respond rather than react. A reaction is a reflex. A response is a choice. The trap of intellectualizing. There is a danger here. You might mistake thinking about your problems for solving them. You might sit in a room, analyzing your psyche, labeling your thoughts, and categorizing your worries, and feel very productive. But if you do not act, you are just wallowing in high-definition anxiety. Do not confuse avoidance with clarity. Some people use stoicism as an excuse to ignore painful realities. They say, I am indifferent to this, when really they are just afraid to fix it. True clarity always leads to action. If your reflection session doesn't end with a physical next step, you are just daydreaming. You must also beware of treating every decision as life or death. Most decisions are reversible. If you make a bad choice about a small project, you can fix it. If you buy the wrong shirt, you can return it. Stop agonizing over the small stuff. Save your heavy cognitive lifting for the irreversible decisions, the ones that change the trajectory of your life. For everything else, favor speed. The clear command center. When you practice these habits, the mind dump, the decision rules, the discipline of assent, something shifts. You stop feeling like a victim of your own psychology. You start to experience the world with high fidelity. You can separate the facts, what actually happened, from the story, what you are telling yourself about it. You can feel fear without being ruled by it. Your inner voice changes. It stops being a frantic, nagging critic and becomes a calm, rational advisor. You make decisions faster because you are not wading through a swamp of maybe. You act decisively because you are not terrified of being wrong. You are focused on doing what is right according to your code. Imagine your mind as a clean, well-lit room. There is a desk. There is a single task on the desk. There is silence. Outside, the world may be screaming, but inside, there is order. This is the state of mental clarity. It is the state from which all great work is produced. But there is a catch. You can build the inner citadel, architect your time, establish a rhythm, and clear your mind, but you do not live in a vacuum. You live in a world that is desperate to steal what you have just reclaimed. There are forces, people, algorithms, demands that are constantly besieging your fortress, trying to break down the doors and flood your clean room with their garbage. You have the clarity. Now you need the weapons to defend it. You need to draw lines in the sand that no one is allowed to cross. It is time to learn the art of the ruthless no. Chapter 6, Focus Lines. If a stranger walked into your house, opened your wallet, and took $100, you would be furious. You would call the police. You would install better locks. You would never let it happen again. Yet every single day, you let strangers, coworkers, and algorithms walk into your mind and steal something far more valuable than money. They steal your attention. And you don't just let them do it. You hold the door open for them. You treat your attention like it is an infinite resource, a free sample you can hand out to anyone who asks. You vibrate with every notification. You say yes to meetings that have no agenda. You agree to help with projects that have nothing to do with your goals. You are living with all the doors and windows of your mind wide open, and then you wonder why your house is a mess. The Stoics understood something that you have forgotten. Your attention is the only thing you truly own. You cannot control the world, but you can control where you point your mind. When you give that power away, you are not being nice or collaborative. You are being negligent. You are abdicating your throne. It is time to stop being a public park where anyone can wander in and leave their trash. It is time to become a fortress. To do that, you must draw lines in the sand. The sacred property of the mind. Whatever owns your attention owns your life. This is not a metaphor, it is a biological fact. Your reality is constructed by what you focus on. If your focus is scattered across 1,000 trivialities, emails, gossip, social media, other people's emergencies, then your life will be trivial. You will feel exhausted, not because you did deep, meaningful work, but because you spent your energy switching contexts every 3 minutes. Winners treat their attention like gold. They guard it with jealousy. They understand that deep work and deep relationships require a concentration of force. You cannot be a great leader, a great partner, or a great creator if you are constantly looking over your shoulder at a buzzing phone. Losers, on the other hand, give their attention away for free. They are terrified of missing out, so they miss everything. They try to be everywhere at once and end up being nowhere at all. The cost of this lack of boundaries is catastrophic. When you are overcommitted, you are chronically stressed. You are always rushing, always late, always delivering B- work because you didn't have the time to make it A+. You think you are being a hero by taking it all on, but you are actually becoming a liability. You are disappointing yourself because you are not living up to your potential, and you are disappointing others because you are unreliable. Doing everything is the fastest path to doing nothing well. The architecture of the line. So how do we stop the bleeding? We do it by drawing focus lines. A focus line is a hard border. It is a binary distinction. On one side of the line, you are open, available, and generous. On the other side of the line, you are closed, unreachable, and focused. Most people live in a gray zone where they are sort of working and sort of available. This is hell. A focus line eliminates the gray. These lines exist in time and space. In Chapter 3, we talked about time blocking. A focus line is the electric fence around that block. It is the rule that says, between 8 a.m. and 11 a.m., I do not exist to the outside world. It is not a preference, it is a policy. But focus lines are also spatial. They are context-based. You might draw a line that says, the dining room table is a no-phone zone, or when I am at my deep work desk, I do not check email. These lines make choices easier. When you are in the zone, you don't have to decide whether to check your phone. The decision was already made by the line. You are either in the zone or you are not. This is where essentialism meets stoicism. You must identify the essential few. Go back to your inner citadel. Look at your virtues and roles. What are the few things that actually move the needle on those roles? Everything else is noise. You cannot protect everything, so you must choose what to protect. The word priority used to be singular. It meant the one thing that came first. Only in the modern era did we pluralize it to priorities, deluding ourselves into thinking we can have 10 first things. You cannot. The art of the Stoic, no. To maintain these lines, you must master the most powerful word in the English language, no. You are afraid of this word. You think that if you say no, people will hate you. You think you will be fired or dumped or ostracized. This is a lie born of insecurity. The truth is that people respect boundaries. They respect clarity. When you say yes to everything, your yes becomes worthless. It means nothing because you say it to everyone. But when you are a person who says no often, your yes carries weight. It signals that you have actually thought about the request and have the capacity to deliver. You might believe that being a team player means being always available. This is false. A team player who is burned out, scattered, and late is useless. A team player who disappears for 4 hours and comes back with a solved problem is invaluable. The most respected people in any field are not the ones who answer emails instantly. They are the ones who produce results. You also labor under the delusion that you can keep everyone happy. You cannot. Every choice has a trade-off. If you say yes to your boss's trivial request, you are saying no to your own deep work. If you say yes to a networking event you don't care about, you are saying no to your family. The trade-off exists whether you acknowledge it or not. The Stoic acknowledges it. The Stoic chooses strategic disappointment. It is better to disappoint someone else regarding a small request than to disappoint yourself regarding your life's purpose. Mapping the minefield. You need to audit your life, right now. Take a piece of paper and list every single commitment you have, every project, every recurring meeting, every volunteer role, every social obligation. Look at them. Which of these are essential to your core roles? Which of them are just nice to have? Which of them are there simply because you were too afraid to say no 3 months ago? You need to take a red pen to this list. Eliminate the unnecessary, shrink the bloated, own the essential. From this day forward, you must use a value filter for every new request. When someone asks for your time, do not answer immediately. Run it through the filter. Does this serve my top roles? Does this align with my virtues? If the answer is no, then the answer is no. You must override your impulse to please. You are not a golden retriever. You are a human being with a finite amount of time on this earth. Scripts for the uncomfortable. The problem is usually not that you want to say yes, but that you don't know how to say no without feeling like a jerk. You need scripts. You need default language that is firm but kind, so you don't freeze up in the moment. Don't over-explain. You don't need to write an essay about why you can't attend the meeting. Just say, I can't take that on right now given my current focus, or that doesn't align with my priorities for this quarter, or simply, I'm not the right person for this, but thank you for asking. No is not aggression. It is clarity. It is a gift to the other person because it saves them from relying on someone who can't fully show up. Practice these scripts in the mirror. Rehearse them mentally. When the moment comes, deliver the line calmly. Do not apologize profusely. You have done nothing wrong. You are simply protecting the asset that allows you to function. Defending the perimeter. Once you start drawing lines, you need to enforce them. Treat your calendar like a closed club. It is full by default. A new entry has to be important enough to kick something else out. If someone wants an hour of your time, they have to prove it is more valuable than the hour of deep work they are displacing. Use visual cues to signal your focus lines to the world. If you work in an open office or a busy house, wear big headphones. Even if you aren't listening to anything, they are a do not disturb sign for your face. Close your door. If you don't have a door, turn your desk away from the traffic. Train the people around you. If you answer an email at 10 p.m., you have just trained your team that you are available at 10 p.m. If you never answer until 9 a.m., you train them to wait. People are adaptable. They will adjust to your boundaries if you are consistent. Start small. If you are currently a doormat, don't try to become a fortress overnight. Pick one boundary. Maybe it is no phone during dinner. Maybe it is no meetings on Friday afternoons. Hold that line. Defend it with your life. Once you feel the power of that small victory, the extra mental space, the drop in anxiety, you will be hungry for more. You will expand your territory. The view from behind the wall. When you successfully implement focus lines, the relief is physical. You will feel a weight lift off your chest. You will say no and realize the world didn't end. In fact, the world kept spinning, but you stopped spinning with it. A good outcome is that you feel less guilty. You reduce the obvious distractions. You have pockets of peace. An excellent outcome is that you have clear, protected blocks of time that nobody touches. You drop the non-essential projects and nobody dies. Your stress levels plummet because your workload matches your capacity. But the best outcome is a life that feels spacious. You are no longer frantic. You are present. When you are with your friends, you are with them, not mentally checking Slack. When you are working, not scrolling Twitter. You become known for your presence. You become a person of substance. Your results skyrocket because you are pouring all your energy into the few things that matter, rather than sprinkling it over 1,000 things that don't. When the lines are tested, of course, there will be resistance. You might overcorrect and become rigid. You might use boundaries as an excuse to be unhelpful or unkind. This is a trap. Review your boundaries against your virtues. If your boundary prevents you from doing your duty, it is a bad boundary. Keep a flexibility budget, a small reserve of time and energy for genuine emergencies and acts of kindness. Stoicism is not about being a stone, it is about being a rock that others can lean on. You will also face pushback. People who benefited from your lack of boundaries will be annoyed when you install them. They will test you, they will complain. Stand firm, do not get angry, just restate the boundary. I understand it's urgent for you, but I cannot do it until tomorrow. Let your consistent actions teach them that this is the new normal. And be careful of the slow creep. You might draw the lines and then, week by week, you start letting things slide. You say yes to one small thing, then another. Suddenly, your calendar is full again. You must be vigilant. Adopt a one-in, one-out rule. If you take on a new commitment, an old one must die. Run a monthly audit. Prune the dead wood. You have now secured the perimeter of your mind. You have stopped the invasion of other people's agendas. You have reclaimed your attention. But there is still a problem. You are sitting in your fortress, ready to work, but you look around and realize that the fortress itself is a mess. Your physical space is cluttered. Your digital desktop is a disaster zone. The environment you are sitting in is actively fighting against the clarity you have worked so hard to build. You have organized your mind, but you are still living in a dump. It is time to take the philosophy out of your head and imprint it onto the world around you. We need to clean house. Chapter 7: Outer Order. You think you are a sovereign mind floating in a vacuum, immune to the world around you. You believe that if your will is strong enough, you can work effectively in a dump, think clearly in a riot, and stay calm in a hurricane of notifications. You are wrong. You are not a ghost in a machine. You are a biological organism reacting to your habitat. If your habitat is chaotic, your mind will be chaotic. It is that simple. We have spent the last 6 chapters building the internal machinery of a Stoic life. We have constructed the citadel, architected the time, and cleared the mind. But now we must open the gates and look at the terrain immediately outside. Your physical space, your digital devices, and the people you let into your circle are not neutral background scenery. They are active forces. They are constantly nudging you, triggering you, and draining you. If you are fighting your environment to get things done, you are losing. Winners do not rely on willpower to overcome a messy desk or a toxic friend group. Winners design their environment so that the disciplined choice is the easy choice. They rig the game in their favor. It is time to stop pretending that the clutter doesn't matter. It is time to bring the order of the citadel into the physical world. The hidden tax of chaos. Every object in your peripheral vision is tugging at your attention. That pile of unread mail, it is a low-grade stress signal. That messy desktop with 47 icons, it is a visual scream. You might think you are ignoring them, but your brain is spending energy to filter them out. This is the hidden tax of disorganization. You are paying a cognitive fee every time you enter your workspace. Think about the friction. How many minutes a day do you lose looking for a file, a password, or your keys? It might only be 5 minutes here and there, but those interruptions break your flow. They introduce frustration. They spike your cortisol. By the time you actually sit down to do the work, you are already annoyed. You have wasted your best energy fighting your own mess. This applies to your social environment as well. The Stoics were very clear. You become like the people you walk with. If you surround yourself with people who are frantic, reactive, and cynical, you will eventually become frantic, reactive, and cynical. It is a form of osmosis. You cannot maintain a Stoic calm if you are swimming in a sea of drama. Your social circle is a force multiplier. It either multiplies your effort or divides it. The 3 circles of order. To fix this, we need to attack 3 specific domains: physical order, digital stoicism, and social design. Physical order is not about aesthetics. We are not trying to get your apartment featured in a design magazine. We are aiming for ready state. A surgeon does not have a messy tray of instruments. They have a precise setup because a messy tray leads to mistakes. Your desk, your bedroom, and your main thinking spots are your surgical theaters. Every object in them must have a purpose. If it does not serve a function or bring you genuine joy, it is an obstacle. Get rid of it. Digital stoicism is the modern discipline of refusing to be a slave to your tools. Your phone and your computer are the most powerful distraction machines ever invented. If you leave them in their default settings, they will destroy your focus. Digital clutter, endless open tabs, red notification badges, disorganized files, mimics physical mess in your mind. It creates a sense of overwhelming urgency about things that do not matter. A Stoic demands that their tools serve them, not the other way around. Then there is Stoic social design. This is the most sensitive part, but also the most critical. You cannot control other people. That is a core Stoic tenet. But you can control who gets your time. You can distinguish between connections that nourish your character and connections that drain it. You are the architect of your social attention. If you are spending your prime hours with people who pull you away from your values, you are sabotaging your own system. Lies of the disorganized. You are likely clinging to a few myths to justify the mess. The most common is the macho delusion. I can focus anywhere. The environment doesn't matter. You wear your ability to work in chaos like a badge of honor. Stop it. That is not strength. it is stupidity. Even the most disciplined Special Forces soldiers clean their gear and organize their barracks. They know that when the pressure is on, external order supports internal calm. Needing a clean space is not a weakness. It is a strategy. You might also be telling yourself, I'm just a messy person. This is the identity excuse again. Organization is not a genetic trait like eye color. It is a set of habits. It is a series of decisions. When you say you are a messy person, you are really saying, I am too lazy to learn the skill of order. Reject that label. Choose a new identity. I respect myself enough to live in order. And regarding people, you might say, I'm stuck with them. Perhaps it is family or coworkers you cannot fire. The Stoic accepts what they cannot change, yes. But the Stoic also recognizes that while they cannot eliminate a difficult person, they can control the dosage. You can control how much emotional weight you give their words. You can control the duration of the interaction. You are never truly helpless unless you choose to be. The Great Purge. How do we execute this? We start with the physical. Do not try to organize a mess. You cannot organize clutter. You can only hide it. You must purge. Pick one key area. Your desk is the best place to start. Remove everything. Strip it down to the bare surface. Then only add back the items you use daily. Everything else goes into a drawer or the trash. Assign every single item a home. If you pick up a pen, you should know exactly where it lives. If it doesn't have a home, it is a vagrant. Evict it. Next, establish digital stoicism. This requires a ruthless hand. Turn off all non-essential notifications. If an app doesn't involve a human being trying to tell you something urgent, like a text or a call, it has no right to buzz in your pocket. Create a simple folder system for your work. Current projects, archive, admin. Do not leave files on your desktop. And here is a rule to live by. Close your tabs. At the end of a work block, close everything. Leaving tabs open for later is just leaving cognitive loops open. For your social surroundings, do an audit. List the 5 or 10 people you interact with most. Put a plus sign next to those who leave you feeling clearer and more motivated. Put a minus sign next to those who leave you drained or scattered. You don't have to cut the minus people out of your life entirely. That is not always possible or kind, but you must strategically reduce your investment. Spend your best energy with the plus signs. Give the minus signs your polite, bounded attention, but never your inner core. Finally, install the daily reset ritual. This is the bridge between today and tomorrow. At the end of your day, spend 10 minutes returning your space to ready state. Clear the desk, wash the dishes, close the browser windows, pack your bag for the morning. This is not a chore. It is an act of respect for your future self. When you wake up tomorrow, you will step into a world that is ready for you, not a world that is waiting to attack you with yesterday's mess. Friction engineering. To maintain this order, use the one-touch rule. When you pick something up, a piece of mail, a document, a tool, do not put it back down in a random pile. Deal with it. File it, trash it, or use it. Most clutter is just deferred decision-making. Stop shuffling things around and start processing them. You should also use friction to your advantage. We want to make good habits easy and bad habits hard. If you want to read more, put the book on your pillow. If you want to check your phone less, put it in a drawer in another room. If you want to do deep work, clear the desk of everything except the task at hand. You are engineering your environment to guide your behavior. You are lowering the barrier to entry for the things that matter and raising the wall for the things that don't. Look for micro upgrades. Is your chair uncomfortable? Is your lighting dim and depressing? Is your internet slow? These are not noble sufferings. They are friction points. Fix them. Change one small pain point in your environment each week. Over time, these tiny upgrades compound. You will find that you are no longer fighting your space. Your space is propelling you forward. The clean room effect. When you get this right, the results are immediate. A good outcome is that your workspace is clear. You stop losing things. You stop feeling that low-level hum of anxiety when you walk into the room. An excellent outcome is when your digital life stops being a source of noise. Your phone becomes a tool again, not a master. You look at your screen and see only what you intend to see. The best outcome is when your environment becomes a custom-built support system for your stoic life. You walk into your home or your office and you feel a sense of alignment. The order outside reinforces the order inside. Visitors can feel it too. They enter your world and sense the calm, the purpose, and the clarity. You are no longer wasting a single ounce of energy fighting your surroundings. Where the entropy creeps in. The danger here is trying to do it all at once. You might get inspired and try to overhaul your entire house in a weekend. You will burn out, leave a bigger mess than you started with, and quit. Focus on one zone at a time. Master your desk, then master your phone, then master your bedroom. Celebrate the small wins. You will also slide back. Digital chaos is like dust. It accumulates constantly. You will wake up one day and find your desktop covered in screenshots and your inbox full of junk. Do not panic. Just schedule a recurring digital cleanup. Reset the system. And you may feel guilt about changing your social patterns. You might feel selfish for stepping back from a draining friend. Remember your duty. You have a duty to live well, to be effective, and to honor your principles. You cannot do that if you are being dragged down. You are not abandoning people. You are protecting your capacity to be good. Be kind, be firm, but do not apologize for choosing health over toxicity. You have now organized your mind, your time, and your space. You have a system that works. You are operating at a level you haven't touched in years. But there is one final enemy waiting for you. It is the enemy that kills more systems than anything else: time itself. It is easy to be a stoic for a week. It is easy to be organized for a month. But how do you keep this up when the novelty wears off? How do you maintain the citadel when life changes, when you age, when the season turns? We need to stop thinking in days and start thinking in decades. We need to learn how to play the long game. Chapter 8, Long Game. You have likely been here before. You get fed up with your chaotic life. You buy a planner, you clean your desk, and for 2 weeks, you are a machine. You wake up early, you block your time, and you feel invincible. Then, life happens. You get the flu, or a project explodes at work, or you just get tired. You miss a day, then you miss 3. Suddenly, the planner is gathering dust, the desk is covered in junk, and you are back to your old habits, drowning in guilt. This is the short burst, long crash cycle, and it is the graveyard of potential. Most people treat organization like a crash diet. They think it is a temporary state of suffering they have to endure until they are fixed. Once they are fixed, they assume they can relax. But entropy never relaxes. Chaos is the default state of the universe. If you stop rowing, the current will immediately sweep you back downstream. We are not interested in a 2-week transformation. We are interested in a lifelong operating system. In the previous chapters, we built the components of your stoic life: the inner citadel, the time architecture, the focus lines. Now, we must weld them together into something that can survive the wear and tear of decades. We are zooming out. We are stopping the obsession with winning the day just for the sake of it and starting to play the long game. This is where you stop trying to be perfect and start trying to be durable. The myth of the finish line. The most dangerous lie you tell yourself is that there is a finish line. You believe that one day you will finally be organized. You will have everything under control, your inbox will be empty forever, and you will float through the rest of your days in a state of Zen-like bliss. This is a fantasy. As long as you are alive, you will have problems. Your roles will change. Your energy levels will fluctuate. The world will throw curveballs that no planner could predict. If your system relies on everything going perfectly, your system is fragile. The Stoic approach is anti-fragile. It assumes that things will go wrong. It assumes that you will fall off the wagon. The goal is not to never fall. The goal is to shorten the recovery time. When a short burst person falls, they quit for 6 months. When a long game person falls, they acknowledge it, review what happened, and reset the next morning. You must make peace with imperfection. Always adjusting is not a sign of failure. It is the definition of steering. A pilot is off course 90% of the time, constantly making micro adjustments to get back on the line. You are the pilot. If you expect to lock in a heading and nap for 40 years, you will crash. You need to shift your mindset from performance to practice. You are not performing organization for an audience. You are practicing it for your life. The ultimate auditor. To play the long game, you need a focusing lens that is powerful enough to cut through the noise of decades. The Stoics had such a lens, and it is one that modern society tries desperately to ignore. Memento mori. Remember, you will die. This is not about being morbid. It is not about depression. It is about urgency and clarity. When you think you have infinite time, you tolerate things you should destroy. You tolerate a job that drains your soul. You tolerate vague goals. You tolerate mediocrity. But when you zoom out and look at the timeline of your life against the backdrop of your inevitable death, the triviality falls away. Use this as a tool. When you are bogged down in petty office politics or worrying about what a stranger thinks of you, zoom out. Ask yourself, in the context of my finite life, does this matter? This question is the ultimate auditor. It strips away the fluff. It reveals that you do not have time to be disorganized. You do not have time to drift. You only have time to do what matters. The quarterly autopsy. Drift is the silent killer. You don't wake up one day and realize you are miles off course. You drift there, inch by inch, over months of small compromises. You stop doing your weekly review. You let a few boundaries slide. You say yes to a few non-essential projects. Suddenly, you are busy, but you are not effective. To prevent this, you need alignment audits. You cannot rely on your daily feeling of busyness to tell you if you are on track. You need to stop the machine and look at the gauges. Schedule a recurring appointment with yourself. Quarterly is usually best. This is a non-negotiable meeting. In this meeting, you are the CEO of your life, reviewing the performance of the employee, also you. You look at your calendar from the last 3 months. Does it reflect your values? If you say family is your top value, but you worked every weekend, you are misaligned. If you say deep work is your priority, but your schedule was 90% meetings, you are misaligned. This is an autopsy of your time. Be ruthless. Where did the time leaks happen? Which commitments are zombie projects? Walking Dead, eating your brains, but going nowhere. You must catch these misalignments early. A 1-degree error in navigation, left uncorrected for a year, lands you on a different continent. Correct it now. The art of strategic neglect. As you play the long game, you will realize a painful truth. You can do anything, but you cannot do everything. As you get better, more opportunities will come your way. Competence attracts requests. If you do not have a system for rejecting them, your own success will drown you. You need to implement virtuous constraints and purposeful neglect. A virtuous constraint is a rule you set to protect your sanity. For example, I only take on 2 major projects at a time, or I never travel more than once a month. These constraints force you to make hard choices before you are overwhelmed. They force you to prioritize. Purposeful neglect is even more powerful. It is the conscious decision to be bad at something. You cannot be a world-class parent, a CEO, a marathon runner, a gourmet chef, and a socialite all at the same time. You must choose what you will neglect. Maybe you decide that for this season of life you will have a messy lawn. Maybe you decide you will be bad at keeping up with pop culture. Write a not pursuing list. These are the things you have actively decided to ignore. When the temptation arises to chase them, look at the list. I have chosen to neglect this so I can excel at that. This is not failure, it is strategy. Falling in love with boredom. We are addicted to the big reveal. We love the montage in the movie where the hero transforms in 3 minutes of upbeat music. But the long game has no montage. It is just Tuesday, followed by Wednesday. Real change is often boring. It is the result of small, unsexy choices compounded over thousands of days. You must stop looking for the dramatic breakthrough. The breakthrough is a myth. The breakthrough is simply the moment the stone breaks after you have hit it 100 times. The first 99 hits didn't look like they were doing anything, but they were essential. If you are constantly chasing the dopamine hit of a new system or a new app, you are just restarting the clock. You are digging shallow holes all over the yard instead of digging one deep well. Fall in love with the plateau. Fall in love with the quiet satisfaction of marking an X on your habit tracker for the 100th day in a row. That boredom is the sound of traction. It is the sound of a system that is working. Rituals of return. You will get off track. It is inevitable. You will have a month where you ignore your inner citadel. You will have a week where your time architecture collapses. The difference between a winner and a loser is not that the winner never falls, it is that the winner has a ritual of return. Do not beat yourself up. Guilt is a useless emotion. It is just ego in reverse. Instead, have a protocol for restarting. Maybe it is a Sunday morning review where you wipe the slate clean. Maybe it is rereading your personal code. Maybe it is a system reboot day where you clear all your inboxes and reblock your calendar. Treat these rituals like religious observances. They are the mechanism that pulls you back to center. The longer you wait to return, the harder it is. The moment you notice the drift, initiate the protocol. The compound interest of character. If you stick with this, if you survive the boredom, the setbacks, and the drift, something magical happens. The results begin to compound. In the beginning, the system takes effort. You have to constantly remind yourself to check your calendar, to say no, to pause before reacting. It feels like pushing a boulder uphill, but over years, the boulder reaches the top and starts rolling down the other side. The system starts to carry you. Your identity shifts. You stop being a person trying to be organized and become a person who simply is organized. Your default state becomes one of clarity. You develop a reputation for reliability that opens doors you didn't even know existed. You have a sense of trajectory. You are not just spinning in circles, you are moving towards something. Imagine yourself 5 years from now. If you continue as you are today, reactive, scattered, overwhelmed, where will you be? You will be 5 years older, more tired, and filled with regret. Now imagine you stick to the long game. You will be 5 years older, but you will be calmer. You will have a body of work you are proud of. You will have relationships that are deep and present. You will be the master of your life, not the victim of it. The trap of old goals. One final warning: do not cling to old goals that no longer fit. As you grow, your values might shift. The goal you set at 25 might look ridiculous at 35. The long game requires the courage to quit. If you are chasing a goal simply because you said you would 5 years ago, you are falling for the sunk cost fallacy. Your current life is the only one that matters. If a goal no longer aligns with your inner citadel, kill it. Retiring a goal is not failure, it is maturity. It is pruning the tree so the healthy branches can grow. You have the tools, you have the philosophy, you have the long-term vision. You understand that this is not a sprint, but a marathon that lasts the rest of your life. You are ready. But there is one last hurdle. It is the hurdle that trips up 99% of people who read books like this. You can understand everything intellectually. You can agree with every word I have written. You can feel the fire of motivation burning in your chest. But none of that matters if you do not cross the gap between knowing and doing. The gap is small, but it is deep, and many people stand on the edge of it forever, looking down, waiting for the perfect moment to jump. The perfect moment is a lie. The bridge is burning behind you. There is only one way forward. It is time to stop reading and start moving. It is time to execute. 9. Act now. You have reached the end of the pages, but you have not reached the end of the problem. In fact, you are in a dangerous position right now. You are currently sitting on a pile of potential energy. You have the map, the compass, and the instructions, but you are still standing in the exact same spot where you started. There is a specific kind of failure that is unique to smart, motivated people like you. It is the failure of intellectual satisfaction. You read a book like this, you nod your head, you underline the profound sentences, and you feel a dopamine hit. You feel like you have accomplished something just by understanding the concepts. But the Stoics would laugh at this. To them, philosophy was not a library activity. It was a wrestling match. It was training for the arena. If your understanding does not bleed into your actions, it is not wisdom. It is just decoration. The gap between who you are right now and who you are capable of becoming is not a mystery. It is not a matter of luck or genetics. It is a matter of structure. You have spent 8 chapters learning how to build that structure. Now, you must inhabit it. You must close this book and open your life. The architecture of a new life. Let's look at the machine you have built. This is not a collection of random productivity tips. It is a unified operating system designed to withstand the chaos of the modern world. You started by digging the foundation with your inner citadel. You stopped letting your impulses run the show and established a personal code based on virtues and roles. You decided who you are. Then, you erected the steel beams of time architecture, treating your hours as a finite resource to be blocked and protected, not squandered. You installed the daily rhythm, creating a loop of morning intention and evening reflection that ensures you never drift for long. You cleared the fog with mental clarity, learning to separate facts from stories and silence the noise in your head. You built the walls with focus lines, drawing hard boundaries around your attention and learning the power of no. You organized the grounds with outer order, forcing your physical and digital environments to serve your purpose. And finally, you committed to the long game, accepting that this is a lifelong practice of adjustment and resilience. Do you see how it fits together? The citadel gives you the why, the architecture gives you the when, the rhythm gives you the how, the clarity and focus give you the strength to execute. This is a fortress. Inside it, you are safe from the drift. Inside it, you are free. The power you now hold. If you actually implement this system, not perfectly but consistently, you will possess a power that very few people have. You will have power over your time. You will move from the exhausted victim saying, "I'm so overwhelmed," to the deliberate architect saying, "I choose not to engage with that." You will resist the hijacking of your attention by algorithms and emergencies. You will decide what gets your lifeblood. You will have power over your emotional world. When plans change, when people are rude, when the market crashes, you will not spiral. You will have the tools to separate the event from your reaction. You will stay grounded while others panic. You will build a quiet, terrifying confidence, not the loud arrogance of ego, but the steady certainty of someone who knows they can trust themselves to follow through. Most importantly, you will have power over your direction. You are no longer a character in a story written by your boss, your parents, or your anxieties. You are the author. You can align your daily actions with your deepest values. You can adjust your course as you grow. You are driving the ship. The ripple effect. There is a fear that being this structured makes you robotic or cold. The opposite is true. Structure is the only path to genuine warmth. Think about how you show up when you are disorganized. You are stressed, distracted, and half present. You are checking your phone under the dinner table. You are snapping at your partner because you are thinking about an unfinished email. That is not freedom. That is slavery to chaos. When you live a structured life, you show up calm. When you are with your family, you are fully with them because your work is contained in its block. You bring presence because your mind is not leaking energy. People feel safer around you. They feel heard. You become reliable. In a world of flakes and excuses, you become the person who does what they say they will do. Your yes means yes, and your no means no. You avoid the drama of overpromising and underdelivering. You teach people how to treat you by the way you treat your own time. Trust grows in the soil of consistency, and from that trust, deep and lasting relationships bloom. What is possible now? So, what can you actually achieve with this new operating system? You can finally ship the work that matters. The novel, the business plan, the degree, the fitness goal. The things that have been dying on your someday list will move into your done pile. You know how to carve out deep work blocks. You know how to protect them. You stop relying on last-minute heroics and start stacking boring, consistent wins. You can build a life that matches your values. You can look at your calendar and see your character in action. If you value health, It's there in the schedule. If you value learning, it's there. You stop living a double life where you believe one thing but do another. And you can recover from setbacks. This is the superpower of the Stoic. When life knocks you down, and it will, you don't collapse. You use your reviews to analyze what happened. You adjust your system. You bounce back faster, smarter, and harder than before. You become anti-fragile. The flywheel effect. I know what you are thinking. This sounds like a lot of work. And you are right. In the beginning, it is work. It takes effort to build the habit of the morning review. It takes courage to say no to a meeting. It takes discipline to clean your desk every night. But here is the secret. It gets easier. Right now, you are pushing a heavy flywheel from a standstill. You are using all your strength just to get it to move an inch. But as you continue to practice, the momentum builds. The habits take over the heavy lifting. The routines become automatic. You stop using willpower to decide when to work. You just work when the calendar says work. Your confidence compounds. Each small success proves to you that you are capable. Your competence grows as you customize the system to fit your specific life. The friction drops. You waste less time starting, switching, and recovering. Your output increases, not because you are grinding your gears harder, but because you are gliding on rails you built yourself. The 1-2-3 protocol. We are done with theory. It is time for the first step. Do not close this book and say, I'll start on Monday. Monday is a lie. Monday is where good intentions go to die. You start today. You start in the next 10 minutes. Here is your immediate battle plan. Step 1. Define the core. Grab a piece of paper or open a blank document. Right now, write down your top 3 virtues. Write down your main roles. Draft your personal code, 5 to 10 sentences that define how you will operate. Do not worry about making it poetic. Make it true. Step 2. Block the week. Open your calendar for the next 7 days. Before you look at what meetings you have, block out the essentials. Schedule 1 or 2 deep work blocks. Schedule 1 block for a key relationship. Schedule 1 block for your weekly review. Draw the focus lines. If there is a conflict, resolve it now by canceling the non-essential. Step 3. Install the rituals. Decide exactly what your morning prime and evening moral inventory will look like. Keep them tiny, 3 minutes each. Write them on a sticky note and put it on your bathroom mirror or your bedside table. Commit to doing them for just tomorrow. That's it. Do not try to overhaul your entire life in an hour. Just drive these 3 stakes into the ground. The fire behind you. Let me leave you with one final thought. Your life is not a rehearsal. This is not a practice run. Today, this specific Tuesday or Saturday or whatever day it is a real, non-refundable piece of your existence. You are trading a day of your life for what you do next. Is it a good trade? The Stoics kept death close not to be depressing, but to be real. They knew that the time we have is not short, but that we waste much of it. You have wasted enough. You have spent enough years being reactive, being overwhelmed, being a passenger. You are closer than you think. You do not need to become a different person. You do not need a new personality. You just need to make different choices. The gap between the chaotic life you have and the organized life you want is bridged by small, concrete actions. It will feel awkward at first. You will feel resistance. That resistance is good. It means you are pushing against the entropy. Step into the life you have designed. See yourself as the architect. Choose to live like your time, your attention, and your soul actually matter. Take a breath. Look at the plan you just made. Now, put the book down. The real chapter begins when you stop reading.